Now, what are the remedies, when the rights of these groups are violated? I'm going to talk about asylees and refugees. Like I said before, they can, make a complaint, civil rights investigation into ICE raid tactics, and that is an administrative remedy. You can have judicial remedy. You can bring civil rights lawsuits, under the Bivens Action under Section 1983. They have, constitutional right to habeas corpus review by federal civilian courts, just like in the case I just talked about, the Boumediene v. Bush case. And then sometimes public opinion and citizen complaints, sometimes they help. The press is always, writing about this. Public opinion, in particular areas help. And then non-governmental organization initiatives, like what I talked about the complaint, in Chicago in August of 2016, based on what happened to the Garcia family. So that's, really, the kind of things that you can do to get some relief. Now, the detainees and pretrial detainees and convicts also have some rights. And their rights, flow, some from the Constitution. They can bring claims under 4th, 5th, and 14th Amendment, depending on what happened to them. They can also file state common law tort suits. And they can also seek to have, the federal and state civil rights agencies investigate, their complaints, and sometimes, get involved and then even commence the actions, themselves. So now, for prisoners generally, I've listed, the number of rights that they have, the protection that they have. You cannot subject them to cruel and unusual punishment. They cannot be subjected to sexual harassment or sex crimes. They have a right to complain about prison conditions and access to court. If they are disabled, they have a right, to have access, as disabled people, handicap access and things like that. They have a right to medical and mental health care. They have First Amendment rights, and they cannot be discriminated against. I'm not going to go through into all of that because it's very detailed. I'll keep us here for long. What I want to point out is that there's a distinct difference between the rights of a prisoner and a detainee. And persons who have been charged with a crime but who have not yet been tried, these are detainees, and they may be legitimately incarcerated. They may not be legitimately incarcerated by the government prior to determination of their guilt or innocence. On that slide there is a not that is missing. It should be may not be, not maybe. So they cannot really be incarcerated until their guilt or innocence is determined. Now, at the minimum, they receive as many rights as those granted to convicted persons. The case law goes back to 1984. However, if you're detained in pretrial confinement because there's a probable cause to believe that you've committed a crime, you're subject to certain restrictions on your liberty. As an inmate, if you're convicted, you can be punished, as long as the punishment is not cruel and unusual.